So before we hear directly from our keynote speaker tonight, Kaden Bristow, by the way, I would like to introduce you to his mom, Cassie, and also his soon-to-be stepdad, John. So please join me in welcoming to the stage Cassie and John.
Thank you. Good evening. I can't even begin to describe how full my heart feels looking at your faces tonight. Some of those faces are brand new. Others are very familiar to me. Maybe you've helped us load our truck on the first day of unloaded our truck on the first day of camp. Perhaps you've been holding pom-poms to cheer on my son, Kaden. Maybe you've been the doctor that's called us to update us throughout the week. I'm sorry. No matter what, every one of you has directly impacted our life in one way or another. Perhaps you've even bid it on an auction item, just so my son, Kaden, can go to camp even when money's been tight every year. Our son has many challenges throughout his life. When I was 25 weeks along in my pregnancy, I was told Kaden may not make it. His intestines were severely distended, and waste was not able to leave his body. They'd picked up other complications during the ultrasound, but originally thought he had a form of prune belly syndrome, an absence of abdominal muscles. Doctors had said that if he had any chance of survival, he'd have to endure immediate surgery after birth. 10 weeks later, my water broke 3 hours away, north of here in Michigan City, in fact, and with the help of an Indiana State Trooper escort, we were at IU Hospital an hour and a half later. He ended up coming the day before my scheduled C-section, where, we would have had an uneventful ride, and I wouldn't have aged 20 years in 2 hours. But, you see, that's just Kaden. Predictable and boring isn't Kaden's style. From the minute he's entered this world, he's had us on our toes and also on our knees in prayer. Being Kaden's mom has been anything but easy. It's been downright hard at times. I spent countless nights in hospital rooms miles away from home. I spent many a night checking temperatures, blood sugars, and O2 stats. I've been both the nagger and the bragger. I've been elbow deep in ostomy contents, and I'm even willing to admit I'm sure I've made a doctor or a nurse or two regret their career paths. But I've done every last bit of it because he's extraordinary. He is mine, and I am his. Kaden has no specific syndrome. Doctors have compared Kaden's diagnosis to throwing a dart at a dartboard. There really is no explanation as to why some of those are related and some are so sporadic. Nevertheless, he was made perfect in my eyes. The diagnoses that those darts landed on are restrictive lung disease, asthma, sleep apnea, type 1 diabetes, bilateral hip dysplasia, scoliosis, short gut syndrome, a feed intolerance, and a chest deformity called a pectus excavatum. He's had a feeding tube most of his life, checks his blood sugar at least 7 times a day, and has oxygen as needed. He sleeps with a BiPAP and comes with several suitcases of supplies and equipment. When I get the pleasure of discussing Kaden's needs with friends, family, strangers, even medical professionals, they often look at me wide-eyed and confused. You can tell they are overwhelmed. I bet that's how some of y'all are feeling right now. Your brain's trying to follow all those darts I just threw out, piece them all together. It's a completely normal response. If I can be honest, though, it used to frustrate me. Sometimes I wished he did have a syndrome that we could wrap it all up under. I used to think that it would be easier to explain, less for people to feel like they needed a fix. Perhaps that lost and sad feeling in their eyes wouldn't be so noticeable. There was a specific day in which all that changed for me, though. It was 6 years ago. It was the day I was introduced to Champ Camp. We had heard about Champ Camp during one of Kaden's hospital stays, and a few weeks later, Jennifer called me to talk about it. I remember Jennifer giving me a general idea of what camp was like, what qualified Kaden to go, and all the activities they had for children to do. It sounded absolutely amazing. Zip lining, pontooning, horseback riding. Most of these things she was describing I'd never done before, let alone Kaden. But the thing my brain kept going back to was, but they haven't had a kid quite like Kaden before. They don't understand his limitations. They don't know all the behind-the-scenes stuff. Jennifer reassured me several times that they understood my fears and that perhaps they hadn't had a kid exactly like Kaden before, but they were willing to learn and navigate just like I had. Her voice never once faltered. She never sounded overwhelmed or stressed. I could hear her smile the whole time she was speaking even. It was something I'd never experienced before. It really did sound too good to be true. Although I remained cautious and skeptical, I couldn't help but get excited for him. Jennifer promised me that she'd have Nurse Donna call me and help alleviate any fears and answer any questions I had, and that's exactly what she did. A few short months later, I was dropping Kaden off for his first away-from-home sleepover camp. That was the day our lives changed forever in a way I never dreamed was possible. Most of the staff there could probably tell you it hasn't always been a cakewalk. Kaden brings new challenges. He brings new equipment. But more than anything, he brings that smile of his. Like I tell him all the time, he's lucky he's so cute. Just ask any one of the nurses or doctors what swimming does to his blood sugars. Oh. They never see him as a burden, though. They see him just as I do. They see his potential. They see his bravery. They see his uniqueness. And they grab a hold of every strand of those, add to them, and make them stronger. Have you ever had something in your life you were just so sure about? Something you knew without a doubt was put in your life for a reason. Something you were so absolutely in love with. Something you drive halfway across the country even to get to. That the mere thought of not having it anymore would bring tears to your eyes. I've been lucky to have a few of those. They say it takes a village to raise a child. How lucky am I that that village be Champ Camp? I'm so grateful for the generous people that make it happen every year. Thank you from the bottom of our hearts. Yeah. And now, I'd like to introduce our son, Kaden Bristow.
Thanks for having me tonight. My name is Kaden, but you can call me Batman. Anyone who's cool does, anyways. I'm in the sixth grade, and officially, Mom, cover your ears, a teenager. She's not a fan of the T word. I love video games and would love to be a professional race car driver when I get older. I like watching movies and really love popcorn. I'm the only child because, well, my mom knew what perfection was when she saw it. This year will be my 6th year of going to Champ Camp. You wouldn't truly be able to know me if you didn't know the tough stuff too. Things aren't always easy for me due to my medical needs. Getting out of bed for me is tough. I have back pain most nights. Sometimes it'll take me 30 minutes to be able to stand up and get going. Once I get up and get moving, it gets better. Saying good morning to our wiggle mutts helps too. Remy and Quinn are always excited to see me. During the day, if I've been sitting for a while, I'll get really stiff in my hips and in my back. I have scoliosis, which is a curve in my spine. Sometimes I feel like a knotted up pretzel after a long day. I also have a pain at my back and legs and often run out of breath easily. I don't have PE in school because, well, even just walking gets me out of breath. Even though I don't participate in sports, I love watching them. My favorite is NASCAR. Go Chase Elliott! I have stomach issues too. I even include a can of air freshener in my suitcase every year. What can I say? I sure know how to clear that room. With all that I have going on, it makes even the easiest things seem really hard sometimes. If I can be honest, telling you about all that stuff is really hard for me. I don't even like thinking about it. It bums me out sometimes. I'd much rather focus on my strengths, which my mom and John say I have a lot of, even if I don't see them in them. I always try my best because, like I said, I'm Batman. I've been asked to speak to you about Champ Camp and all the experiences I've had while attending, and it got me thinking, what is the difference between a good camp and a great camp? I think to have a great camp, you need a few things. Good location, fun activities, and amazing people. Oh, and I can't forget, awesome pranks. And believe me, Champ Camp has all of these. Champ Camp is located in the perfect spot. The tall trees, the rolling hills create some beautiful scenery. I love to push myself around camp and take in the views and the fresh air. Fresh air is something we all need, especially if you visit the boys' cabins. You can't get that in a desert or the city. Camp cannot be this much fun if it were anywhere else. The location also allows us to have really fun activities every year. We do zip lining, horseback riding, crafting, and boating. I've learned to fish, and I've gone up in a hot air balloon. It's always something new each year. I remember being scared the first time. I went rushing through the trees on the zip line, but the counselors were there to cheer me on. And now zip lining is one of my favorites. Another one of my favorite things about camps are the laughs and the pranks. I love putting fake spiders in my counselors' pillowcases, something I'm pretty sure my mom would not enjoy. Oh, and there's Moxie. I love the taste of it. Not many people can say that. Everyone's faces are so funny when they try it for the first time. There's never a boring moment in camp, that's for sure. The doctors and nurses who volunteer their time to make sure kids like me have a great time are truly amazing. They always have such positive attitudes and know how to make us smile and have fun. There are so many things I have to do daily to keep myself healthy. Breathing treatments, cough assist, taking meds, checking my blood sugar, and changing my vision sight are just a few of them. At Champ Camp, I'm able to do both take a break from some of that and let others do it for me, or they make it more fun to do. Have you ever seen counselors in a human ice cream sundae? I have. Between doctor's appointments, hospital stays, and my dislike of breathing treatments, sometimes I forget what fun is. And fun is what pushes us forward. The counselors help me focus on being a kid. They also offer help and encouragement whenever I need it. Even outside the week of camp, a few years ago, my dad was in an accident that we weren't sure he would survive. He was in a coma for several months. My Champ Camp family was there for me, offering their love and support, whether they were simply checking on me or just telling me a joke to raise my spirits. It meant a lot to know they care. Life hasn't been the same since that accident. I have days where I'm still upset and sad, but thinking about the good times helped me get through it too. Champ Camp memories are always good times. Anytime life gets hard, I know I have someone to turn to. Without them, my life just wouldn't be the same. I've saved the best for the last. The people. They are what really makes Champ Camp a special place. I've made a lot of friends over the years that get to enjoy this with me. The other campers helped me realize that everyone rises struggles from time to time, but talking out with friends really helps, and it doesn't make me feel so different. Champ Camp has completely changed my life. It's definitely changed me for the better. I'm much more brave. I even enjoy new experiences now, which is something that used to stress me out. I'm also a better patient, and I've become more calm and relaxed during doctor's appointments and procedures. Even though I would still rather eat broccoli, I can now get my blood drawn without being super scared and without crying. I'm even a better friend. Champ Camp helps me see that we're all so unique. There's nothing wrong with that at all. It's really special, and as much as we like to fit in, I learned that being different really is a gift. The last day is always hard for me, and never want to say goodbye. Those 4 days go by in a flash. I really wish camp could last all year. Thank you so much to Dave and Nancy. Without you two, there wouldn't be such an amazing camp. And without camp, I know I wouldn't be who I am today. I'll never forget that, and as long as I'm still able to, I will endure the 15-hour car ride from Texas to get here every year. It's so worth it. From the bottom of my heart, thank you to everyone in this room for what you've given to me and to us. You'll always be a part of me. 50 days until Champ Camp, baby. Woo woo!